Have server. Okay, again. I'm gonna repeat it again. This slide again. I'm not gonna repeat those earlier slides. It's not so that important. Okay, again, Express is like something wrong with my motor. It's a set of functions and tools, and of course rules that will help you build your applications in a conventional way, and because of thanks to those rules, and also you can read other people's code easily. Okay, how? Because we all have the same rules, and we all write everything within those rules. Okay, and also it has a lot of built-in tools, and it can easily integrate the framework with other tools, and those kind of tools will be called middleware, which we will learn tomorrow. So yeah, and this is a safe introduction of Express. This is a very fast, minimalist framework that sits directly on top of Node.js, and that will help you build like beautiful single or even multiple page web application and websites. It's not just about the backend side; it's all about the full stack application. Okay, how? Because we also have front end, back end on inside Express. And here's a list of some big companies that are using Express in their production website. As you can see here, there's a lot of companies here which I don't know. Quizzup, Tichu, Yandex. These are very big and has a lot of traffic. So Express will have you handle a lot of heavy traffic, multiple requests at the same time. Compared to different framework, they can only handle 1,000 or 10,000 requests at once, but Express it can handle more like 100,000. Thanks to the asynchronous nature of JavaScript. Okay, is there some big one? Yeah, Uber, Uber. And Express is it's very easy, convenience to build some personal website for some medium or small e-commerce website. Yeah, and Express refers. No, there's no Yak. What the hell is Yak? Yak is just a command line tool. It's a library, normal library for command lines. What do you mean Express and what? Wake up, Khan. All right. So we have a lot of alternatives that we can choose instead of Express. And there are vanilla Node.js, which is we have to build everything by ourselves manually. Like we have to create server, we have to listen to that port, we have to listen to a request from somewhere, and then we have to pass everything, translate everything into a machine code or something. Take a lot of time and practice. Also, we have a Adonis JS, which is very inspired by PHP. It's very similar to PHP, and it's also a full stack framework. Koa, I don't really know Koa, and lastly, it's not lastly, but Shell.js is very it's rise a lot now. It's very popular now, but it's not a minimalist framework because it has a lot of built-in function. That's why it's so heavy. So for beginners like us, people who want to have the flexibility, we don't use Sales. Okay, now the reason why we choose Express over those alternatives. By far the most popular and one of the first framework out there. So any other frameworks are actually built on top of Express, right? It's inherits from Express. It build more built-in functions, so it's kind of heavier. It's not as lightweight and minimalist as Express. That's why we learn Express first. And then if you want to learn other framework, you just spend 1 or 2 weeks learning it. It's very easy. And so it has a lot of nice feature out of the box, of course. It will have a lot of middleware that you will help you to read the request and handle the request without actually doing anything. It's flexible, and I can say it's minimalist, so you can like have different configs. You can change a lot of things. You can integrate a lot of library without worrying about conflicts or anything. Alright, that's Express. Is a introduction to Express, but why do we actually use Express? Again, there's another reason, because Express is like it's encourage us to use MVC design pattern. And I think right now you already know MVC, or you kind of like have the idea of MVC here. MVC is a short word for models, views, and controllers, right? So the idea of MVC is just a separation of concerns. It means like you have different parts, and different parts will do different things. Right, so my left hand will do something, my right hand will do something, or both my leg will do different things, right? It's very easy to think about it like this, but how do you know that different parts, what is different parts and what is different things? Okay, let's dive into it. Okay, here's a diagram of the MVC design pattern. Okay, wait, someone chatting? No. Okay, here you have a user, right? And user here is actually our browser, right? And the view, controller, and the model. So basically, a user, a browser will send an API request. It's not really API request, but send a request, a normal request. For example, I go to this route, I want to see something. Okay, that something is handled by controller. Controller will receive that request, and then it will decide, okay, this route, user will see, for example, content A, right? Content A, content 1, content B, content A, content B, content C. But content A, what should we show them for the content A? What is a content A? So those decision is like handled by the model here. The model here is kind of like our database. It will look at the content A, and then it will show them. For example, it return content A is user khóa, is a instructor, right? Something like that. It will return some data to the views. Actually there should be controller in here, but controller will then return it to views. So basically, just go from model to views, and the view is just like your HTML CSS file. It will receive, for example, user is khóa, job is instructor, and then it will show to the user. Okay, here is khóa, he is instructor. Basically, this is the life cycle. It's not really a life cycle, it's the cycle of the request and response. Okay, user send a request to our controller. Controller will analyze it and decide what to return to the user. And the model will like receive those instructions from controller, and will go into the database, kind of like a database, and then look for those data, return it to the view, and view will show it to the user. That's it. Very kind of like easy to if you imagine it. Okay, let's think about our to-do app here. And, how can our to-do app like have some? How can we apply the MVC design pattern to our to-do app? If I can, I'm gonna open Khan to-do app here, for example. All right, and what do you think of the user? Let's forget about the user. User is the person who's sitting here, enter in the terminal. For example, node app.js and list something. That is the user. That's me, for example. And then the controller. Which part of our to-do app is the controller? Can someone answer that? Which part is a controller? Let me see who doesn't have camera. Okay, Khải ơi. I'm here. Okay, I'm here. So which part of the our to-do app here is the controller? Okay, as I've said here, controller is something that will listen to the request and decide what to return. Okay, so many people answer it. Yeah command. Exactly, Daniel. The yeah command here is controller. So the controller here has decide this is okay. If the user type in this command, we will look at the builder here, and there's a little some rules that the user have to provide, some information user have to provide in order to get the like expected result, right? Those kind of rules from controller, and then when controller receive the request, it will fire a function, or you can say like it will ask the database. For example, add to do here is kind of like the model, our model here. So it will tell the model, okay, hey, show me something. Okay, that model will then do something for you. For example, add new to do here and save it to the database, right? And then actually you should not have something in add to do here. Let me see. Yeah, add to do function. Okay, add to do. All right, add to do function, and then here's kind of like a view. Console here, console.log here is kind of like a view. It will tell the user, okay, I've successfully added that to do for you. That is a view. Okay, let's take another look at the list here. For example, if you type in the command list, it will do a lot of things here. Oh my god. Okay. All right. All right. So you skip a lot of things here, but all right, it's okay. So here's kind of like your controller, but here you have everything inside your controller, like you have a low data here, but you have the logic. These kind of logic is not actually, it's not belong to the controller, it belongs to our model. Like everything that related to data is model, belongs to model. So our controller only like decide what is what's the model had to return us, right? So right here you have a like a kind of like a mix between the model and controller, and actually it's very common for people to have a like a mix of understood. It's not really a misunderstanding of controller and model, but people tend to like do everything in one place. So basically, it's another pattern, design pattern. It's called MVVC or something. Okay, it's model VV model or something like that. That's why there's a lot of different design pattern, because that's those kind of design pattern are actually the variant of what you are doing here. So basically, you're not separate the code into model and controller and views. That's why there are a couple of other design pattern that come from, actually they came from the MVC pattern. Okay, that's enough for the demonstration here, I think. Let's go back, and here we will dive deep into each of them. Okay. First thing first, the M in the MVC. M are models, and they are just objects. Actually, they are objects, and they are those objects represent the data inside our code, right? It will like act as a, it's kind of like a guy that will stand in front of your library, and then it receives something, and then we go into your library, take something out and give it to you. So kind of like a librarian, right? You say, okay, give me a book, Gone with the Wild or something, and then it will go to the library books, library store, and then get a book for you. So kind of like model, they are models. So model allow us to work with our data with just code. we can automate it. So basically, if you do something like here, some kind of like operation here, for example, save the data, read the data, write some data, delete some data, right? It also have a logical step in there, but basically it will do those things: save, read, write, and delete. You will call it CRUD, right? Create, read, update, and delete. Create, read, update, and delete. So those kind of operation belongs to model. Okay. We will learn model next week. For this week, we are not learning model. It's another like topic. Okay, next, MVC views. So views are basically just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. JavaScript here is the client-side JavaScript, which is, you can say, it's a browser JavaScript. So basically, it's just what user will see in the end. It can be separated from your code, from your application code, actually. And the view is just, it takes some data and then it will render to the user. That's it, nothing else. So you can separate the views from your backend side. That is why we have React. React is front end, and React can be a standalone application. Lastly, controllers. Controller is very important because it's something that stays between your application. It stays between your model and the views. It will connect those to like things. I don't know how to say it, but yeah, it will connect your model and view together. Basically, it's like a middleman. For example, user send some request and the controller will decide which to return, which kind of data will return, that application will return to the user, right? So those logic are called in-between logic. That is belong to you controllers. And the most common thing we will see is the router. As you can see, our React app also have a controller as well, and that is called React router. React router actually is also a controller, but it's a front-end controller. But don't worry about that controller. Right now we are talking about control the route inside our backend server. So you will learn it just in a couple of minutes or 1 hour. Okay, that's it for MVC. Today we will focus on these two, controller and the views. Let's not worry about the database yet, the model yet. Okay, for views, today we will learn handlebar. We will get like practice with handlebars. There are a couple of view engines for view. So what is view engine? They are just like a front end part of our full stack project, full stack application here. So it's a little bit different from React. The view engine here is a little bit different from React because it's called it's a server-side rendering. Okay, and our React is actually client-side rendering. React is client-side rendering, and the view engine here is a server-side rendering. What do I mean by that? Because let's go back to this, React, right? React is client-side rendering. Why is that? You can like you should show my condition. I will explain it later. Okay, React, you will have a server just for front end, and when you go to a website, for example, your website, right? Something.netlify.com, and Netlify will send you a bundle. Just for example, right now it's just one file of JavaScript, and your browser will read that file, and just everything will be running on your browser, nothing else. There's no server. So that's called client-side rendering. And versus the server-side rendering. Server-side rendering is like every time you visit a route, right, a path inside your application, for example, google.com/qua. Okay, when you go to this route, your browser will actually send a request to the backend side, and the backend will decide what you see, and it will render the page for you. That's called server-side rendering. Client-side rendering is it doesn't those kind of requests directly from browser. It doesn't go directly to the server, but it goes to the JavaScript on your browser, and that JavaScript will call an API to your backend server. So if you like more advanced, the server side is like it's heavier, but it has a lot of restriction. It's more secure, and it's kind of old way of doing that. And the client side is kind of newer. It's a new technology. For example, React, Angular, another one, Vue.js. Those are kind of like modern technologies, and it's a client-side rendering. It's lightweight. It's fast. It runs faster actually. But the first time your web page load, you have to load every like JavaScript file at once, and after that, everything will load very fast compared to server side. So that's the difference between the Vue engine here in Express and React, our React app. And our Vue engine is just it also has a lot of functionality that's very similar to React. For example, you can also reuse your code. It's like components in your React app. It's kind of very similar, but it's dumb. It's not as smart as React. Also, you can like render dynamic data or dynamic content in your HTML as well, instead of hard coding it. Hard code like for example, this is how it's dynamic. You change the value. For example, you can use a variable inside your HTML, just like your JSS, right? Inside your JSS, you have a variable inside your HTML. Same thing here. You can also do that using the Vue engines. And right now there are like a couple of Vue engines, very popular Vue engine out there. But by far the most popular is Handlebars, and it's easiest to use for beginners. Pug is powerful as well, but the syntax is so weird. It's very hard to learn the syntax of Pug. It takes a lot of time to practice with Pug. So that's why we chose Handlebars as our example. What we will learn this week, Handlebars. And Handlebar is this is a quote from Charles. Yesterday he complained that Handlebar is so simple at first. If you look at it, it's very simple because it looks like HTML with variable inside it. But the more it's only until you realize that it's insanely complicated. I don't know. That's why he said yesterday. He complained it to me, and yeah, it's very like easy to learn in the beginning. But if you dive deep into the handlebar, it's very complicated. So our main focus today, I already said, we will focus on the controllers. We will focus on the views, and you're expected to like encounter a lot of error today. Don't worry. You like we will use a tool called Express Generator to help you to like encounter less errors, and will have you have like a conventional way to initialize your Express app. Okay, so you spend less time to memorize stuff. All right, we have talked about handlebars, but I explained the difference between the Vue engine here and React. But what actually is handlebars, right? All right, he added this. Okay, this is me. Okay, our server job is to enter the right information here to our view, right? Imagine this one is a view, HTML and CSS, right? So the server job is to return the correct information, the appropriate information here. For example, I study in these two schools. So our database and our controller will return those kind of informations. But this kind of, for example, this file is just HTML. They're just HTML. So our handlebar is just HTML, but it has a special abilities like it allows you to have dynamic content inside HTML. So depend on who's the user is, these kind of text here can change, right? So for example, for you, for Kan or for Charles, the school will be different. For Daniel, it will be different. And Handlebars is kind of dumb and smart at the same time. But you also have something like Bros, but it's hard to use, a little bit hard to use. You have to pass it every time you call something. And this is how they actually do it. So actually, it's just how you render HTML in week 2 or week 3, right? So this is a string. Inside the string, you will have HTML tag. Inside that tag, you have variable, just like that. But it's a little different using Handlebars. The syntax is a little bit different. So for example, here, okay, you call it like this, double curly braces instead of the dollar signs, right? So you can like have the logic inside our templates as well. For example, if I go to school, it's not okay, yeah. Okay, what if the user, for me, for example, me, I went to school, so we have to do some logical condition, some condition. If user.school array is longer than 2, right, longer than 1, you will render a map or something. So if you have school, these kind of like conditions, you will have condition inside that. For example, here you can have if else inside your HTML file. It's very cool. And you can do a for loop in there. This is a kind of like for each. You can do like what's the sign here, hash, and then each means for each. Okay, and then first name and the last name is a broad inside the author. All right. We will send you a link, the documentation link, so that you can take a look at, read the documentation and understand more about these kind of syntax, right? It's very like, there's a lot of different syntax for these kind of variables, operations. And so there's a lot more to do, but we would like to like advise you to keep your view simple, because if it gets too complex and you run into error, the Express server will not tell you where the error is. You have to figure it out by yourself. Like, it will not show anything. You have to like look at your code and try to understand what's wrong there. So basically, that's Handlebars. That's it for today, I think. And please take a little rest, and then we'll come back and have do the lab. Right now, there's something wrong with. Let me take a look at the that guy here. Okay. At the time I did this, right, that guy is still able, like still free and open, but Apple decided to buy that guy, and now it doesn't allow you to register a new account anymore. The old data is still work. For example, if I open the website, it still work. Hang on, let me open it. It still work. The API still work, but it doesn't allow new registration. So I will make some change so that we can go back and use the Open Weather API. I think it's okay. Yeah. So here it still work on your account, but you cannot register a new account now. Right.
Can you share your API key?
It's a good chance for you to do it yourself if you can, or I will make a little bit of change in our lab documentation here, so you can like have a close instructions. So do you have any question about today's topic? Our main topic today was Express. Why, what, why, and when to use Express, right? And also we learn about the MVC design pattern. But our main focus today is just controller and views. For views, we will use Handlebars view engine, which is kind of very similar to the normal HTML and CSS. Right. Do you have like any question about these topics? I can see it in demo and.
When are you gonna do the code?
Okay, can ask a question. So my condition in handler, I should put in controller. Actually, the handler, our handler in y-axis is a controller, but some logical step like when you add new to dos or when you want to read to dos, there those kind of tasks belongs to the model. All right. So right now it's not so clear if you do the two app. Yeah, it's very hard to be clear, very clear on that.
I
But
have a
as you can
question.
see, Emily is still a very great job. Actually,
Do you not hear us?
Yeah, that's
generate
what I'm
everything.
trying to ask. I guess you can.
Quad, do you have like audio?
This code and handlebars regular HTML looking files. Yes. Oh, the extension I forgot to mention. The extension is SBS, which stands for handlebars, right? Okay. And the way you call variable is very similar in React, but now you have double curly braces, not just one. Can you hear? No, I cannot hear anyone. What? Oh my god. Hang on.
Can you hear me?
Why can't I hear me? Oh, sorry. Oh shit. I mute.
Can you hear us now?
No, yes.
Okay. Bina had a question.
Yes, with that.
Just want to check. He can hear Charles. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's
Oh yeah. So I was just gonna ask you, Kwa, can you do a quick? Are you gonna do a quick? Thanks, Bao. Bao heard me, Kwa. Are you gonna do a quick demo of the app now, or?
I think the demo here, I need to use a different API. So okay, just a very quick one. It's a very simple one, right? To set up the routes and using Express, it's very simple. So let's do it.
Yeah, can you walk people through a simple example of showing the Node.js generator and then, or just from scratch, and then the first HBS view? So I think that's going to really help people understand because there's so many pieces now. But
Yeah.
it's very simple. It's like 20 lines of code.
All right. Can you see my screen here?
Can you make your font just a little bit bigger again?
My microphone?
No, your font, your terminal screen size.
Okay, MacDear today is 7.2 for example. 3. Okay, CD. Okay, just like yesterday, npm init y. Okay, and the first thing we have to install is Express. We want to use Express, right? Express. And then let's open the code. Okay, right now we have nothing. Very simple. We will we will learn how to structure our files later, our project folder and later. But right now, just do some simple thing. JS, like how we did. Okay, and then we're gonna use Express. So I'm gonna import Express equal to require Express. There's a very interesting tool called Tab9. It's like it has an AI to like it will recommend you the code for you. For example, it's very useful. And okay, now you need to initialize your app. Here, like you define your Express app, cons app equal to Express function. That's it. And then let's do app.listen. Well, show the bare minimum. Right. Okay. Now you want to listen to a port, for example, 5000. Let's say this is a callback function here. You have two elements. The first is the port number, and the second is the callback function, which is like if it's successfully run the web server, it will like do something, right? If it fails, it will return something. So you can have an error object here. So right now, just say console log server is running on 5000, for example, and then let's try it. Yeah, of course. Why is it npm? So do I miss something? npm. It's not npm star. It's not .js. Sorry. So we successfully run our server on port 5000, but our app doesn't have anything. It's empty. There's no route. So we need to create a route.
Can you open a web browser and see what happens?
All right, let me start the server again. Okay, and then okay, it said cannot get anything because we haven't defined any route. Normally you will see this kind of problem. For example, cannot get, cannot pause, cannot do something. It means you haven't defined the routes for that that route. For example, right now that's a root route, right? So now let's define a route. Get also have two arguments. The first one is actually you can have as many arguments as you want, but basically you have two main arguments. The first one is always the route name, the route. The second one is going to be a function. This function will have request, rest, and next. But right now we don't need to worry about next, so you can skip it. Right, next. It's a function here. I don't know function. I use an arrow function here. And let's say I want to do request and respond. This request and respond, right? Request send hello world. Right. So if I run I test it now with my browser, you will not see anything. It's still the same because the server is not updated. There are two ways. You have to stop it, run it again, and then hopefully you can see something. Yes, you can see hello world. If you don't,
can you stop and can you stop and just recap that real quick?
Yeah. So basically, we define an application, application like this, okay, and then we start our server by listening on the port number 5000. It can be any numbers, but try to avoid the number that already exists in your local machine, right? So normally people would start with 3000, 5000, and 8000. But I personally use 3000 for front end and 5000 for back end. And also on Heroku, the default port will be 5000. You cannot choose. If you deploy to Heroku, the port will be always 5000. So I think it's okay to keep it 5000. And you can also have a .env in here, but we will explain it later, not now. So basically you start with the port 5000, and here's the callback function. For example, you want to show the log server is running, or if server there's something wrong with the server and something wrong, you can log out those error as well. So
can we ask everyone just to like quickly do this on their local machines? So everyone should be able to get a hello world working.
It's very simple. You can do it. First step, you need to install Express. There's only one.
Can you recap how do you install Express again?
npm install Express on your terminal.
Okay, so can we have everyone in the class just go through and build this?
Yeah.
This will be a little bit different from the afternoon. So in the afternoon, we're going to show you some shortcuts, or the lab, whether we might do that this morning. But here we want to show you just the bare minimum, so you can build like the world's simplest web app, and also so you can understand some of the lines. The shortcut that we show you in the afternoon is going to generate a whole bunch of code for you, and it might be a little overwhelming at first, but you should know it's basically just stuff to make these simple lines a little bit more robust.
Look at this. It suggests me to send hello. So smart. Okay. If you're done, just type ready.
Yeah, so yeah, maybe just a little bit of explanation. So there's 3 arguments that come into, so app.get takes 2 arguments. So app.get itself takes 2 arguments. The first is the route that will match. So similarly to like your React router, you can think about that. It's just a string. And if the server gets that string, it'll run the code, which is the second argument. The second argument is a function. So the reason why there's three things there is that that function that's going to be called expects three arguments: the request, the response, and next. Kwa, can you explain what each of those variables stands for?
This one is request.
Because this is like related to Wing's question.
Okay. Request is like the incoming object that the browser will send to the web server, that our web server will receive, and response is another object that our web server will send to the client, the browser. It's not the browser, the client. Okay.
So yeah, so the request has information. What information is in the request that you might need on the server side, Kwa?
There's a lot. For example, an object in the headers, the body, the headers. There's a lot of information. If you really want to see it, we can see it request here. You can see.
Perfect. Yeah, do that.
And okay, I'm gonna hit enter. Oh, sorry. Oh my God. I changed it. Now I need to stop the server and run it again. And I hit enter here. Okay. There's a big object here, as you can see. Holy shit. Oh my God. A lot of things. It's so long that my terminal cannot show all of it. But basically, it's an object. It has a lot of magical things, HTTP things. Inside that you have so many properties, but basically there are a couple of properties you will want to use. Is like those are params. Those are the very important properties you want to use. Params, queries, and maybe
what's query?
Is it query, right? Query.
Yeah. Well, can you print out maybe request.query and show them how query changes? Because that's going to be useful for the lab this afternoon.
Spread.query right now it's an empty string, so you can do something like this. For example, Kwa equal name equal Kwa, right? Let's see. I haven't stopped it though. Okay, name equal Kwa. I expect to see an object named Kwa here. That's a query. You use it, you use it a lot in your front-end application. For example, the weather app, right? You send in the coordinates into the URI, and then the server will read those queries and will like return something based on those queries. For example, right now, my name is Kwa. I will show if request.query.name equal to Kwa, you will say hello Kwa, for example, something like that.
Cool. So yes, in conclusion, the request has all the stuff that the browser sent to you. So there's usually the thing that you're only looking at is the parameters, but you might do certain things later if you do like a file upload, or there's different types of data that come to the browser. So like this Friday, we're going to do, for example, an image, like a thing where you can upload images to the server. Then the request will have certain things in the header that tell you, hey, this is actually not text, this is an image, please deal with it. So that's, you can read all that information from the request object.
So if
yes, exactly. So Wing is correct. Request is what we receive, response is what we send.
Yes.
And yeah, so you can send anything over that response. The default is a string, because usually the server is responding to you with text data. It doesn't necessarily have to be, but for us, I think for the next few days, it's going to be all just text. And you can put anything in that response. So you could actually put hello. How would you, can you change that to say hello Kwa or hello name?
Change this one to, for example, let name equal to request dot query dot name.
No, query is just oh yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
So I'm gonna hello. Okay. Cool. Let's say this is Bitna.
Hello Bitna.
So if I don't provide the name queries here, Without the name query, it will be hello Khoa. Right. Right.
So, and then the handlebars piece now is, so we could build our whole application this way, and we could use ES6 template string or something to make it a little bit nicer. But like, it would be very painful to write a whole HTML page this way. Can you actually send, you can send like an H1 and stuff, right, Khoa?
H1, hello. This one is going to be a $sign in the name here. Let's see what happened here.
You forgot the closing tag. That's okay. Inside the string ma.
Okay, it does render correctly because by default, the response object will have a header, a content type will be HTML and text. So if you look at the network request here, you can see. I would say where is it? This one.
It's not HighSierra. It's just put in all. Yeah.
So localhost, right? Okay, so by default, the response header content type will be text HTML. So if you send a text file with the element tag in there, it will understand that an HTML.
Yeah, so we don't need to know about content types just yet. Just know that there are different types of content types. The server might respond with a picture. The response could be music if you're running like Spotify or something. For now, we'll just do text HTML. Yeah. Daniel has a really good question though. So let me answer Daniel's question. So he's confused why we would put HTML Node.js over React. So there's two different ways to render pages. So we have what's called server-side rendering or client-side rendering. So what we did in the weeks 1 through 7, the server is just an API, and the front end is just React. So React is doing fetches and gets, but all the JavaScript stuff is happening in React land. That's one way to do things. We're going to teach you the server side because you need to build APIs and all these things. But we're going to start with helping you build a server side that's going to build like the whole page for you. That's what we're going to do this week and next week. And the week after that is when we're going to start pulling in how to make those two things talk to each other a little bit. So you can have React on the front end and then just APIs on the back end. But actually coordinating those two things is a little bit complicated. So we want to teach you how to build the kind of standard whole HTML stuff on the back end as well first. And then we can go to the more advanced way. But right now, to answer your question simply, Daniel, it's for simplicity. So you can just learn how this is done on the back end, and you can build things. It's a lot easier to build this way first.
So let's rephrase it a little bit. We only learned the server-side rendering this week only, hopefully. And next week, we will learn how to build API, purely API. So we're going to use on a development tool called Postman to test our API. So it's a very important tool and it's very powerful. I will show you how to customize your Postman next week. And on week 9, we will have React together with our backend server. It's kind of like a transition step for you to before the final project.
Yeah, and also in the world, yeah, you can look at this like article that Khoa just sent, but there's a pretty good mix of server side versus client side rendering for apps too. So this is like it's spaghetti better than linguine or something. So there's pros and cons to each, but lots of apps do use server side rendering in conjunction with client side rendering. So stuff generally that's client server side rendering. There's a few reasons to do it. The main reason is just like it can be faster because your server can be really big and the user might be using like a cell phone or something not very complicated. But also server-side rendering is faster. So if you load a React page, you have to actually download all of React and then make the API calls and then display the page. So it's actually a bit slower. So actually most modern websites use a conjunction of both. So the first render is also rendered, and then React loads in the background and then like swaps over. So that stuff is beyond the scope of this course. You won't learn how to build super optimized websites like that because it's not really that important. You can learn that later. But the last thing I'll say too is also, this is one of the cool things about using Node.js on the back end. Because you're using JavaScript on the front end and back end, actually the super advanced people do React SSR. So you can actually render React pages on the back end, because React is just a library that works in JavaScript, right? So you can actually build it in the server and like do all this stuff. That's also a little bit too complicated for this course, but it is possible to do React server-side rendering as well. Yeah, this article has a lot of reasons why, what you want to do.
It's very cool.
Yeah, you can get into really deep weeds on this. So basically, like, the most important thing on a website for speed, it's actually not how long your page takes to load. It's how long it is until the user can see something useful. So you may have seen a lot of web pages where it's like you load it and then you see like this little spinner for the first 30 seconds. That's all client-side rendering, and that's slow, and people don't like that. So what people want to see is like some text first, and then like maybe other stuff, you know, pages in. And that's when people use server-side rendering.
Okay. Any other questions?
Oh, also, I can say one more thing, Daniel. Another reason you'll need server-side rendering is also one reason why Express is very popular is you saw how small the code was for this simple app. There are different ways to architect software in the real world, but the cool thing you may have heard of these days is called microservices. So instead of writing one really big code with every single piece in it, you might actually make your app be a combination of many different apps. So you might have like your user's app, your user login app meets your, like your data app. I don't know. You might have like 5 or 6 different pieces in your app, and then some of those might be server rendered, some of them might be client. You might have different kind of approaches to each piece. For example, like a user login and authentication part is often server rendered because it's like it's fast up. For example, like a forgot password link, that's always almost going to be server rendered because you don't want to like go the overhead of building React for no reason for something like that. So there may be pieces in the future where you combine different apps that use different rendering strategies. Cool. So, okay, so sorry, but that was a long digression. But basically, like, what I want us to show is like, so on line 8, we can do code like that. But you can imagine like writing your whole application. Like imagine writing Facebook, like that Facebook, even just that little Facebook panel with this, it would be such a pain. And this is really kind of breaking the MVC model. So what Qua is doing is kind of, we want to keep the views and the controller separate. So if you think about it, kind of this app.get statement is really the controller. So it's doing a few things. It's checking the query parameters. It's like setting up the right variables. Maybe even it had to do some like database access to get the right username and figure out what schools Qua went to. But you don't want to assemble all of that in the controller. That should be the job. So that's why we introduced this handlebars thing. So handlebars is a separate file, an HBS file, that will hold all the kind of view logic for this page. That way we don't have to put it in our controller. We can have it in a separate area. But also there's some shortcuts to make it a lot nicer. So that's why we showed you like the if statements. Like for example, on line 7, that actually should be in the view. Like if the if name is not set, then set to Qua. That shouldn't be in the controller because that's really not the controller's job. Because later, like that's, I mean, maybe Qua's a bad example, but you've seen all websites where it's like, hey, like, hello, unspecified user or anonymous user, like making those types of guesses, that should belong to the view in most architectures, not the controller. So in order to split that logic, you need something a little bit better than just a string, like what Qua built. You need some logic and stuff, and that's where handlebars comes in. So you'll never build, you should almost never build stuff this way, like we're doing on line 8. You should use handlebars instead. Can you render a quick handlebars for them now, Qua?
Oh yeah, okay. Let me see. Right. So let's render a handlebar file. For example, create a new file called no. In order to use handlebar, you need to follow a couple of rules. Right? You need to install. First, you need to install HBS. I don't remember npm.js.com. You go to this website, Handlebars. Click on this one. So as you can see, there's like $7.5 million per week. And instead of doing something like this, right, we can use template, using a template. So we need to install it first. Copy this, install this. Okay, done. And you have to do a little bit of configurations. For example, you need to define where we are storing those templates file, right? So for example, it's gonna be view path. You can call it different thing, but let's call it view path equal to path.join. We define the path, and here's the folder for this. For example, if I put it inside templates, and then
can you call it views? Also, you installed the wrong library. This is one of the stupidest things about this. There's like 3 or 4 different handlebars libraries on npm. The one you want is actually called HPS.
This one?
You don't want this one. You want HPS.
Really?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Oh shit! This one has like 7.5. Okay. SBS. Let's try it. Holy shit!
So this is the Express one. So handlebar. You can also use handlebars on the client. There's a lot of shit going on.
Okay.
This is the one you want.
I used to use that one though. Okay. I need to copy this.
There's also something called Express handlebars. So it's so annoying. But HPS is the one you want.
SBS equal to require SBS. Look at how convenient. So simple. Right. So now you have it. Now you need to set it. So sample like this. Forgot app.set. You go into documentation. There's here. You can copy and paste. Okay. Basically, you're telling our Express app that we are going to use a view engine, SBS as our view engine. Right, and set okay, I think that's it. Okay, let's copy this too. Right now we don't use this, so just skip it, I think. And then let's say go. I think we have to register the path as well, app.set, and then we have to set our views to view path. And then we need to define the view path here, which is I'm gonna store those files inside my view here. Okay. So now I'm gonna render inside the view. I'm gonna create, for example, index.abs. All right, whatever. Okay, inside application here, I'm gonna render index. Let's see what happened here. I don't think anything will happen. Not.js. Something wrong. Path.join. Shit, we have to import path. Equal require path. Right.
What is path? Can you explain that real quick?
Path is like a module, a built-in module. Will like it's like a lot of methods. It's not really one method, but has a lot of methods. But here in this case, it will have a method called join. Basically, we take your route and connect with the name of the file. Like here, we direct your absolute path. Here, we show you the absolute path, the new name. Here's the absolute path of your working project. And here's the name of the folder inside your project. So basically, you're defining the path, the absolute path from your computer to this folder, views folder.
Yeah, so Path is a built-in node library. So yesterday we used like FS to read and write files. Path is just like that, where it's built in Node.js and helps you access local files on the computer. And this is just, it's not really that complicated. It just helps you generate those directory names.
All right, hello world. Let's run the app again. If I go to localhost 5000. All right, so the hello world here come from the index.sbs.
I know this is a lot. Wait, let's slow down for a second. So this is a lot nicer than the string before because look, we can set the title, we can write a whole HTML file. If you want to use Bootstrap or CSS, we can now include that in the head as well. So this is a full HTML page, and this is what a view should look like. And if you imagine like in a situation where you have multiple engineers on your team, maybe you have one person that's working on the server backend stuff. So one person is working in app.js a lot more, and one person, the CSS graphics person, is working in index.hbs a lot more. It's a lot easier to work if things are separated.
Okay, so if you want to pass in a variable to your, for example, your handlebar files, so you can like when you're trying to render here, right? You can have another argument. It's another object, and this object will be passed to your HBS file. For example, if I have name, just hard coding it qua. All right, and then inside here you can hello double curly braces and then name. I hope it works. If it doesn't work, let's go to the documentation page and read it. All right, and I think we had to restart the server.
So that syntax should look familiar to you. It's a lot like React, right? So in React, I think we used one bracket, but here we use two.
You can have multiple like keys as well. It's also work. You can also send in a object, an array. Advanced, a little bit advanced. You can see even send a function, I think. Yeah.
Okay. For this one though, can you just type in the? Can you just finish this thing where we pull in the request, the query?
The query, right? So it will be request dot query dot name. So like it. So in the handlebar here, you have to handle some conditions. It's very hard. Let's go to documentation. Or you can do the stupid way first. Is like you can do s1 if I forgot. Is it this? And then okay, now I forgot. Go to the documentation page. Okay, here you can have if else conditionals here. Take a look. If and then you show something else, you show string. All right, so let's go with if here. All right, if name, let's say hello name. Okay, and oh, I forgot the if. And how do we end the if? We say slash if. Okay, else. I think we also have else. Let's see. If and if else. Else. We can have else like that. Else. So we have else. Forgot else. Okay. And inside else, we will show hello. Well, hello. For example. Right. Symbol. Now if I pass it, let's see, what was it, name equal to you can see which is I haven't stopped the server again. Okay, you can see if I don't pass the I don't send the query without a query, it should be charged, right?
Can you do a different name like Bidna?
Bidna, yeah, of course. So this is how we start query. Question: we need a slash here, or it can be any route. For example, user. It could be user, and then here's the key, and then equal Bidna. Hello Bidna. Okay.
And then maybe just real quick, so if you go back to like the slides for today, we had that simple thing with your profile on it. How would you build something like that with a combination of handlebars and
Wait, hang on. Where is it? Here. What? So user had to scroll. Do I have to do all of these?
can you build just a simple LI version of that? Like, I don't think we need to do the CSS, but how would we do the logic for that? And I think this is what will really show that handlebars is a lot nicer than doing things in JavaScript.
Yeah. So let's say we have. So let's go with only these three, right?
Sure.
And so we will have S1 intro. Okay, and then if we have an array of two schools, if schools dot length. Oh shit, I forgot the syntax. Go here and you can read a lot of thing here. Okay, we need to find
I think you can just do the if statement.
Oh yeah, so we can just use for each name.
Yeah.
Just use for each. Okay, if we don't.
So let's just say each school. So let's assume the array exists for now. Yeah.
Just use each. Now I forgot how to use each. Okay, here's how you use each. Oh shit. Each and then school. Each and then H. And let's remove all of these. Is study something, and then you have another key inside each is say school name. Okay, now
so I think if you studied subject at school at name or something.
Subject. Okay, name, school name.
At. Yes.
He's so strict.
And then what's the other thing we're gonna, let's finish the template first. So
what do we need here? Okay. We
so
need schools, we need to locations, right?
let's just do that. Yeah, let's do location.
And okay, location if location.
Let's assume location. Let's just assume location exists for now. Let's just assume location exists. Okay, never mind. Yeah, do that. Sorry, ignore me. Carry on.
So if there's location, we will render location.
You want //if, not /s location.
Oh my god, I hate this now. Location. All right. No, lives in. Cool. And I think this is enough, right?
Let's just do the top three. Okay, can you quickly just like kind of let people look at the file, HBS file?
Okay, here we go.
So we use two directives here. So the thing that Handlebars will do for us is on line 12, it'll do like kind of what you guys did in React as like a map. So it'll map through or iterate through the schools object. We haven't provided any variables to the template yet, so we'll have to see in a second how that works. But we have some sort of schools array or list, and each item in that array will be expected to have a subject and school name member. And we also want to, on line 16, we're going to expect a location variable to be passed to this template. And those variables get passed in FJS in the render clause, which then we'll do now. So jump back to FJS. So here, I recommend, like, can we define a an object on line 12 instead of taking it from query? Let's just define an object. We're not going to take it from the request here. So imagine that we're going to, so normally we'd actually hit a database and we'd get the files, right? But right now, so this is our model. So normally we'd go talk to the model and like get it from the database. Like, you know, we might have an ID that's a parameter that's like ID, you know, profile ID equals 5 or something, and we get user 5. But here we'll just make this, we'll just hard code the object for now to show you how the view interaction works. That's the most important part right now.
Subject, finance, so smart, and then what did they call it? School name. School name. Okay. Harvard.
You gave yourself a promotion there. Nice.
This? I think there's an R.
Yes.
This tool is checking my spelling as well. It's very cool. Right. Another subject is business, and school name is London School. Okay.
School name should be lowercase s.
Which one?
Yeah, that one, yeah.
No, it's camel case.
Lowercase for the first.
Oh shit! So stupid. Okay, and this one. And what else do we need? We need the locations, comma. So if you want to do it correctly, so do it like this, and yeah, structure your code. Really? Is it how we structure? Shit. Okay.
What did you do there? Can you tell people what you did quickly?
Auto format. It's a shortcut on my computer. Just click this.
Yeah, you can also hit Control-Shift-P and format document, or Command-Shift-P.
Control-Shift-I in my case. I don't know on your computer. I think I changed the hotkey, but
well, Control-Shift. Can you hit Control-Shift-P? Command-Shift-P.
And then format, right?
Yeah, format. So Command-Shift-P is, you should know this by now, but that's like your command palette, and you can find anything in there.
Then we will have locations. Right now I'm in Ho Chi Minh City. Okay, and then we want to pass this object here. Right. So start the server again. We go to the index. Okay, study finance at Harvard, study business at London Business School, and I live in Ho Chi Minh City. So, yeah, something like that.
Okay, so then can we go back? So let me just have you add one more thing. So we don't have a database today, but similar to yesterday, you can imagine like we would have some sort of JSON file somewhere. Can we make that be bitna? Can we make an object for bitna too, and then have it display one or the other based on what the query parameter is?
Okay. Oops, I did something wrong.
So I would just say like const qua equals blah and const bitna equals blah.
Const qua equal qua and const bitna equal qua. And then
so I think you can make two variables, just one. Right now you just have data, so just make one object called qua and one object called bitna, just for the demo. Yeah, and then just make another one. And for bitna, you can leave the location off because she's very private, doesn't want people to know where she is.
Oh shit. Okay, this is bitna. And then
where did bitna go to school? And you can have just, and you make it a little bit different, so she only has one subject.
All right. She's in, I don't know, Boston.
And leave location off.
Location, remove it.
Yeah. And now imagine that we have from the request, we have either name equals qua or name equals bitna, and we had to choose which one we want to show.
So we can do an if else here. If request dot query dot name equal.
What are you doing? Oh, yeah, you could do that. Okay, maybe do a little bit simpler. Just call it data. That's just how you before. Yeah.
Data equal to request dot query dot name equal to and then question mark data L visual bit now, right?
Qua bit now, not data. Qua. Yeah.
Okay. And then we send in data, format everything. We didn't change. We don't change anything here, right? And then obviously I have to restart my server. So right now, if I don't have any queries, it will show bit now. Okay. If I have a question mark name, khóa, show me. So we don't.
Wow.
We haven't changed anything in the views, right? We only change the controller, the logic inside the controller. These are from our database, I think, yeah. Models.
Yeah, so you have to kind of pretend that there'd be a database there for a second. And then but the controller's job is to go fetch the right database. So what line 27 is kind of doing is simulating, like the profile ID that came in was Quaz. Okay, let me go get that data from the database. But the controller's job is to find the data and feed it to the view. Notice here, this is good because the controller is not doing any formatting. Controller's not doing like, oh, like there's 2 schools and do this or do that. Like that's all belongs to the view. So all that logic goes in the view, and just because we change the data, we don't need to change the view at all. So this is good software design.
Yeah, I think it's enough for people.
Yeah, sorry, that was kind of a lot.
I'm still too much in their head. Right. So do you have any questions before we take a break?
What are we doing in the afternoon, Qua? Can you give a quick preview?
We will finish complete the lab here, but you can do it by yourself. You can like go ahead and use the oh wait.
Did you change already?
Oh, this is the week 3 week 2 week 4. Right, now say one. Basically we want to have.
Okay.
Basically,
I think people
want to go back to your week 4 and then read the documentation on the ADI and then use it. If you already have an account in that sky, you can use your account in that sky. But if you don't have it yet, use the open weather. So just read the documentation. It's basically everything will be the same though. But the open weather is better because it's allow you to like send in the coordinates and it will fit the weather based on the coordinate. The dark sky is kind of like more stupid. Yeah, it's only accept the city name.
Can we send you can you send people your API key? Will it break your API key if everyone just uses yours?
It's okay. Yeah, I will send you you guys my API key if you want.
Yeah, because it's kind of cool if they can use a different API just so because like this app intentionally, Quad built this app intentionally to force you guys to make 2 API calls so you can kind of learn how to build something a little bit more complicated.
The reason is sometime in the future you want to do microservice stuff and you have to call API within your app, not on the front end, but on the back end. Yeah.
Also, Koi wants to see your HBS file. Can you walk Koi through the HBS file that you just built one more time?
So basically, the whole thing here is just HTML, right? Okay, and here's where the dynamic content comes in. Okay, we have an array of school we can use for each, and then we render the key inside the element. For example, this element is an object, and inside the object we have 2 properties: subject and school name.
So this is something a little special about the each loop. This is in the handlebars documentation. This is called context. The handlebars makes it a little bit easier for you because it's going to resolve subject and school name against each object in schools. So it's not that you have a global variable, like location is a top level object, but you realize that subject and school name belongs inside that array. But handlebars is smart enough because it knows you're in each loop, so it'll look for the one that belongs. You can't do comments like that. This is HTML. Cool.
Yeah. So subject and school name inside single school.
Yeah. Also, maybe one thing you can show real quickly is maybe the one thing I just realized is maybe confusing is while this looks like HTML, what the server is doing when you do response.render, it's processing this HBS file into plain HTML. So the browser never sees the each if stuff. So actually, if you go to the, can you go to the browser very quick? You can see this what the browser receives. HTML. So you can just do view source or inspect.
Here.
So click on that and you see the response. So this is what you get. So this is the same file that we defined the HBS, but the Node.js's HBS view engine is going to transform all those eaches into HTML. So now you see actually two H1 statements there. That was the output of the each statement. So the browser has no idea what's going on. The browser just gets plain, wonderful HTML. That's all calculated server side. And that's what we mean by server side rendering. The server is calculating everything and crafting response to the browser.
But it put a lot of stress on your server if you have a more visitors.
Yes, but you know, I think for this course, no one's going to hit 1 million users. I would love to be proven wrong, but for now, it's probably okay.
Right. Any more questions? No.
So we're going to use these same principles to build a weather app. This afternoon is also a chance for you guys to brush up in HTML and CSS too.
Yeah. And use your JavaScript inside HTML.
If you want, yeah, if you need JavaScript, you have to do it the old-fashioned way for now.
All right. Seems good enough. Every time we make change, we have to run the server again. All right, I will show you. Actually, when you use the Express generator, it automatically comes with a
That's
library.
false.
You can't reload your server for you.
That's false.
That's false? Really?
Yeah, I have. There's instructions for how to install it. Express generator comes with nothing. It sucks.
Yesterday, I tried that before, but it's like when I change something, it's automatic reload. If you run on a dev environment.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. Well, there's instructions on how to set up NoDaemon, the thing that Winnie is asking about. But yeah, okay.
So you have to, if you don't use that generator, you have to install NoDaemon. NoDaemon if you want to go and install that mod.
There are instructions in the lab though to set up NoDaemon. I didn't realize you didn't need it. I learned something.
Same thing. Instead of using Node app.js, you can use NoDaemon app.js. Same thing. And every time this is mentioned inside the lab. I already mentioned it inside the lab, so don't worry. So here, if I change something here, you can see the log here, right? If I change something like Boston, you see it how reload right away.
But it doesn't like live reload your page, so you still have to reload the web page. In React, you could just save and it would automatically make your web browser reload. We can't do that with Node.js because there's no JavaScript. But aside from that.
Okay, again, wait, I don't believe that though. Wasn't. All right, you're right.
I mean, you can install live reload, but then it's a whole other thing. So that's a middleware that you can install. We'll talk about middleware later.
All right. There's a middleware for that.
There is a middleware for that.
Tomorrow we will learn about middleware. So yeah.
Yeah. So sorry. So the thing tomorrow, what's next is next. So actually, what Kwa earlier for that route, there's two arguments: request, response. There's actually a third one called next we haven't talked about, but that's what we'll talk about tomorrow. So that's what you use to implement middleware, what's called middleware, but it's a powerful Node.js concept, but we don't need to worry about that today.
All right. Okay. All right. See you guys in the afternoon. If you want some demonstration, or you can do it on your own and then ask us questions. I think it's better if you ask us questions like that, so you can practice on your own. Right?
Yeah, let's schedule time to go through it because the lab is pretty, I think, a little bit hard.
Let me see. Here, right?
Yes.
Okay, this one's gonna like confuse people a little bit because it changed some structures.
Yeah.
This one is okay.
Okay, so Kwa, why don't you schedule a time? So I think, yeah, people should explore on their own a little bit, see how they're doing. Let's do a check-in and see how people are doing. And maybe you can do a quick walkthrough later.
Right. So I'm gonna check up on you guys later and see how you progress, and then if necessary, I will do some demo. Right.
I'm sure it'll be necessary.
Right. As always. All right. See you guys. Bye bye.
Don't forget to stop the recording.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I forgot yesterday. All right. So there's I would like to explain some problems here with the two APIs. The first one is the get geocode is like to get your geolocation based on the coordinate, right? You have longitude and latitude. You need to call an API to get the city name from that coordinate. And then from that city name, you can get the weather from that city name. So you need to call two APIs. Okay. Bye-bye. Oh, shit.
So just one more thing. Let's just check back in at 2 p.m. Yeah, let's everyone come back to Zoom at 2 p.m. and we'll see how people are doing and get questions from people.